Let's shift gears to the England-New Zealand women's series. I'm not sure how much of this you've caught so far, Geoff, but Chelmsford was a very easy win for the home side. Tammy Beaumont made 97. They picked up Susie Bates and Sophie Devine in the space of the first 4 overs, which was effectively game over. It was quite a sloppy performance from New Zealand. Far different at Hove, though. So I went from the test match on Saturday down to Hove to do that game for television. And New Zealand, I mean, they did what they needed to do, didn't they? Early wickets, which they failed to do in the previous game. They fielded magnificently. Hannah Rowe running around at deep backward square took a stunning catch. It was a great snaffle at point. They pegged the stumps down at one stage, so they were able to keep England in check. Sophie Devine at one stage was on a hat-trick in her 100th T20 international, and then she walked out and batted 50 quickly. To lay the base. Susie Bates was run out early to Maddie Villiers, who she executed one run out and took 3 screaming catches, one in the deep where her whole body was off the ground diving forward, and one of her own bowling, which was hammered back at her. But in the end, they couldn't drag it back enough to keep New Zealand to, I think they needed to defend about 127 or something like that. So it was a much better, higher standard of game, albeit a lower scoring game. But yeah, great to see Sophie Devine, who missed all that cricket earlier this year with trying to look after her mental health, back leading this team, making runs, taking wickets and getting them on the board early in the series.
Yeah, Maddie Villiers is a live wire in that sense. Makes things happen, put it in inverted commas, makes things happen. Got to go to India. I really like Hannah Rowe as well, what she's done in the team the last little while. She's a player with, what do they say? She's got a bit about her, Hannah Rowe. Got a...
Do you remember when we met her? Do you remember when we met her at the 2017 World Cup when we were thrown? I don't know if you. We were sitting. We were doing TMS. It was you, me, and perhaps Lydia. And at the lunch interval when we were filling, we just had Hannah Rowe brought up to us. And I mean, with respect to Hannah, she was probably 19 at the time and played about 2 games. Certainly hadn't played in that World Cup. And we had to try and find a way of doing about 20 minutes on air with her, interviewing her. I recall it being quite hard graft, but she was obviously very friendly, which is why she was doing the media rounds. And yeah, now very much a part of that seam attack in both 20 and 50 over cricket.
Also noticed that Jess Kerr has kept doing the thing she does, which is take early wickets. With these crazy in-swingers, she's rivaling Megan Shute for the UFO in-swinger, and she was doing this through the games that she was playing in the last 9 months or so as well. But, starting at almost off the cut strip and then, in it goes and somehow just curves in and hits the stumps. So she's come into her own, Jess Kerr, in that she's had the Tim Wigmore older sibling syndrome. The older sibling's not as good at cricket as the younger one, because if your younger sister is Amelia Kerr and she's in the team at 16 and bowling ripping leg breaks and making double tons, it's a bit hard to match up. But Jess Kerr has started to has successfully hit her stride as that opening swing bowler, so that's been nice to see. But I do note look, New Zealand got a win. I said they might not get one on tour. They did get one, but still entirely reliant on Sophie Devine. She had to take the wickets, she had to make the runs, and basically when she doesn't do it, they don't win. Yeah, I should say in passing that Susie Bates played her 126 T20 the other night as well, which means she's played more than anybody, more runs than anyone in women's T20s. She can't bowl on this tour. She said to me last week... She's played as many T20s as Shane Watson made runs at Mohali in 2010. It's a big milestone for any player. Yes, there's some story time for you there, some connecting the dots. No, but she can't bowl anymore, and she told me that she's actually quite glad she can't bowl at the moment. She's quite enjoying getting more time in the nets to bat at training rather than having to go out and bowl. So you mentioned Amelia Kerr, they're missing her. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're missing her. And that's not a reflection on Lee Kasparek, by the way, who's been really effective. Her numbers are outstanding, but she did have 54 runs taken off her in 4 overs at Chelmsford, which is the most ever for a New Zealand bowler in that form of the game. So hopefully Amelia is going well. She didn't want to make the trip, again, sort of for mental health reasons. She wanted to not go through the fairly rigorous COVID processes and bubbles and all the rest of it. And fair enough. So that's the England-New Zealand Women's Series. It continues at Taunton on Thursday in the short form. And then we're into 5 one-day internationals up at Leicester and Derby and all the usual places that the women get sent at this time of year. So I'll be at all of those, and we'll keep a watching brief on it on the final word week to week. The Isle of Skye like Bonnie Prince, whatever his name was.
Yeah, well, it's the, put it this way, they play at the grounds of the counties, Geoff, that you don't know an awful lot about, which you've said before on the show. It's like all the counties that you don't have a huge relationship with, that's where the women are playing.
The ones in the middle.
Yeah, the ones in the middle, that's it. Speaking of
Well, they're the ones I've spent most time at, actually. I've spent a lot of time at Derbyshire's ground, and I spent a lot of time at Leicestershire.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and a fair bit of time at Worcester, actually, at New Road. So maybe I know them better than some of the others.
And Canterbury too, I should say. That's another ground you've done a couple of games at, so fair enough.